Welcome to the 3 over 2. I'm Joe Fortunato. I'm joined here with Chris Grieve.
Yeah, so today we have a lot to talk about. It's our first episode before the NBA season starts. So we want to get out a lot of our predictions and our takes for this season since we could come back at the end of the season and see how accurate we were with all of this.
Yeah, this is kind of an exciting episode. It's episode 2. Our first one, unfortunately, didn't get recorded. That was a problem on our end, but we're excited to get going here, and we're just going to jump straight into it. We're going to jump into Kyrie Nets and Philly and Simmons. We just want to go over it real quick, get it out of the way. We don't want to spend the whole episode talking about it, even though we could. Chris, what are your initial thoughts on Kyrie and the Nets?
Well, I just think it's interesting. I mean, it's a tough situation for him because I think partially he really doesn't want to get the vaccine and he kind of has to play basketball this year. And it looks like the Nets aren't budging and Kyrie's not budging. So he's going to end up probably not playing until either they come up with an agreement, which I don't see happening, or just he sits out the whole year. And right now it looks like he might have to sit out the whole year. And this really affects the Nets.
Yeah, I mean they're at a standstill. Like that's all it really is. Is neither team's gonna budge. Um, I mean the Nets have no wiggle room to budge. It's the NBA that's enforcing this. Obviously the Nets want Kyrie Irving to play. He's a big part of their team. They're paying him a good amount of money. I mean they're not gonna pay him, I guess, if he's sitting out. But it recently came out that they're not even gonna extend him. They're not even looking to extend him. And you can't blame them. You really can't blame them.
Yeah, and if that's what Kyrie wants to do, I guess he's so confident in it and he feels so strongly about this issue that he's just not going to play all year. It just kind of, I'm not going to take sides on this story. It's If that's what Kyrie wants to do, then I guess that's great. It kind of stinks for the Nets, but they're still going to be a great team.
Oh yeah, I mean KD, Harden, the other guys are going to come in and be able to produce. I like Cam Thomas a lot for them. I don't know what his role is going to be, but I do like Cam Thomas, and I think with Kyrie stepping out, he's going to get more time.
Yeah, also they did sign Patty Mills in the offseason.
Oh yeah, that was a big one. I actually saw that on JJ Redick's podcast. That's kind of where I first heard about it. I know Patty Mills was a free agent. He had a great offseason playing Olympic ball in Australia. They went pretty far. Him
Really
and
good.
Thibault looked really good together. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
But yeah,
very underrated pickup there.
yeah, right. I didn't even know Thibault was Australian until the Olympics rolled around.
It seems like when the Olympics happen, there's a lot of players that you don't realize are from these
Yeah,
countries. It's kind of cool to see like how global the NBA is right now.
right, for sure. Yeah, I'm in the same boat though. Not picking sides with Kyrie and the Nets. It's a standstill, and that's all there really is to it. But moving on, we got Philly and Simmons. Just Friday, I was like saying by their next podcast, by right now, Philly was gonna ship out Ben, but I mean he's back,
Yeah, now
and
he's back.
we bashed him a little bit last episode. Nothing too bad. Just brutal honesty. Like Ben's got to be a pro at this point. Like you got to play basketball. You're getting paid. The city, yeah, good terms isn't a thing right now. But if Ben comes back, shows he was working in the off season, he's producing. The team's winning. I could see them loving him again.
I kind of see it as a situation. Ben's just here because he has to be right now,
Yes.
and he doesn't want to lose the money.
Yeah. I see that too, and it makes sense.
I'm interested to see like if he's still gonna want to sit out games or maybe even like get hurt. I don't know if it would be like a legitimate injury, but I could see him like faking an injury or something just so that he can get his money, but doesn't have to play here. Because I still haven't seen him come back to loving Philly, and it doesn't seem like he really wants to be here.
Yeah, and honestly, it doesn't really seem like Philly's embracing him either. I was looking last
No, they're
night, and the
not.
Sixers Instagram hasn't posted him once. He's been back with us since Monday, Tuesday, and he hasn't been on the 76ers Instagram, Twitter, anything. It's just, I have a feeling they know what the comment section would be like, and that's kind of why they don't
Yeah, I guess they
post
don't
him.
want the hate. That'd be interesting though. That would get them engagements, get
Y-
a lot of people talking if they did that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, but I don't know. I do like this from a fan perspective because what happened was wrong with Ben. I went into that a little bit on the last podcast. I think it was handled well, or wasn't handled well professionally. I think Ben didn't handle it well. I don't think GM, coach, or the fans handled anything well. But he's back in Philly. Hopefully, this rises his trade value, his play. I just want to see Ben do great. I still like Ben. His time in Philly's limited, though.
It is very limited. We'll see. I'm excited to see him back, but hopefully it doesn't end up bad like last year did, where everyone ends up hating him in the end. Maybe he comes here and proves something, and the fans love him back, or at least we're able to trade him so that it doesn't end on an awful note.
Yeah, I agree. I think you put it well there. That's how it's got to be. You know, appreciate Ben for who he is, and we'll just leave it at that.
Definitely.
So moving on, the overrated, underrated thing. We talked about it last podcast. Just some teams that we thought overrated, underrated. Now we kind of just want to get into NBA players who may be in each realm. They might be right where they should be. If you want to start us off, you just want to throw out any random names, so we could just.
Yeah, I'll throw out some names. I wrote down names, and these are completely random. But when I did it, I thought of my own opinions on them.
Okay.
So I kind of have some good takes for these. First one I'm thinking of is Derrick Rose. What do you think, Joe?
Oh, man, that's tough for me to say because I like Derrick Rose, I really do, but his fan base,
Yeah.
his fan base makes him overrated. As much as I hate to say that, because I do think he's a great bench player, he really is, and on terrible teams he could probably start. I mean, the Knicks are a decent ball team, but his fans just act like he's this all-star point guard still, and he's just not. And it's okay. It's okay. Derrick Rose has
Yeah.
done well for himself off the bench.
He's made a great career for himself, like second coming of his career as a
Right.
role player now, but his fans, last year, they were trying to make arguments he should be an all-star and things like that.
And he still gets all these votes. It's crazy. And
He has one of the best fan bases because they ride or die with him
they're loyal.
no matter what. They're the most loyal fans, but I have to go with him being overrated
Overrated.
because he's just a role player now, and he was a good player at one point. I don't even know if he's a Hall of Fame type player. They're saying like Hall of Fame no matter what for him. He only had like maybe 2 or 3 prime seasons. It's tough to say. I don't know.
It is. I'll go out and just say Karl Anthony Towns here. What do you think? We spoke pretty briefly about him, but
Yeah, I would have to go like properly rated with Towns.
okay.
I feel like nobody's saying he's better than Embiid and Jokic, and
Yeah.
if they do, nobody's respecting that opinion. And just having him as like the third best center around there, maybe Gobert's better. I feel like that's a fair rating for him. I think a lot of people also aren't giving him like a ton of credit, saying he's going to win MVP and stuff, or he needs to make the playoffs because they know the team around him isn't great.
Right.
So he doesn't really have the highest expectations, but I think people appreciate him. Like, yeah, he's a pretty decent player. He's an all-star level player. Nothing more than that, though.
Yeah, I can't say the same though. I do think Karl Anthony Towns is slightly overrated. It's not like drastically overrated where I don't even think he's a good basketball player. I mean, Cat could score. He's probably the best shooting center of all time, which is kind of crazy to think about, but he probably is. His shooting splits are always pretty great. He shoots the ball well from three, like as far as efficiency goes. But he's got to start winning, and like it's not. Sure, it's the Timberwolves' fault. Sure, he's in a bad spot, but he's got to start winning. I said the same thing about Devin Booker about 2-3 years ago. Devin Booker's great, but he's got to start winning. I don't think Timberwolves make the playoffs this year. I don't think they take a leap like the Suns did out of nowhere, bringing in CP3. But they got to play together more, and it's got to be not finishing in the top, bottom half of the league. Like, well, of course they're going to be in the bottom half, but I mean, like, don't give them another top 5 pick. Like, be a decent team this year. Like, show that you care. Show that you're growing with Anthony Edwards. Show you're growing with D'Lo. I just think they got to start winning.
I agree, but kind of to counter your argument, for a player like Cat, he's had a new coach pretty much every year.
Yeah.
New general manager. There's been new ownership, new GMs coming in. It's just a mess, that organization.
Yeah, they're in trouble for years to come, but
And also, one other thing you pointed out about Cat there, that he's one of the greatest shooting centers of all time, if not the greatest. I feel like that's not talked about ever.
it really isn't.
Partially making him underrated.
Partially making him underrated. I guess you're right, but
nobody talks about how elite he is of a shooter.
I
You
can't.
never his name never comes up in like top shooters in the NBA, but he really is one of the top shooters in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the big man goes, you don't need a big man to shoot 40% or anything close to that. As long as they're above 30%, you have a good shooting center. And Cat's always sitting around 35, 40%. Um, but his defense is the main catalyst for me saying he's overrated. Cat
Yeah,
can't
he's not a good defender.
Cat can't stay in front of a stop sign. Like he can't go out on the perimeter. He's getting cooked, and he's not. I don't want to say not athletic enough to jump with the big guys, but he really just doesn't jump with the big guys.
He has like average athleticism, I feel like, in regards to other starting centers in the NBA.
Yeah, and I want to say that, but then I see Cat dunk, and I'm like, dang, that dude could just jump.
Yeah, it's tough to say.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, he
seeing
does
him
have
do
some
like
of those
windmills and
things
stuff.
sometimes.
It's crazy. We can move on though. What's another player you got?
I had one right here. It's Terry Rozier. What do you think on him?
I want to say underrated.
Yeah.
I like Scary Terry. I did not like him when he was in Boston. That's me just being a biased Philly guy. But him going to the Hornets, I was just kind of like, okay, he had a great playoff. He got paid. He's not going to really produce in Charlotte. He went to Charlotte, and what he put up, like 20 points a game this year? Something close?
Close to that. And half the year was spent on the bench, too.
Yeah, like I mean, he would have been sixth man of the year if they stuck him on the bench for the rest of the season. But, I mean, I like Scary Terry. He's developing into a better playmaker, too. But he's really taking that scoring role and just running with it.
Yeah, I wrote him down because I felt Terry was viewed as underrated. He had a really good year last year, and he's one of those players that can just take over in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
There's only a few players that in the NBA, there's maybe only a handful that you can trust to just take over and carry a team in the fourth quarter, and Terry's one of those players.
And all of them are superstars. I mean, Terry
Yeah.
might not be a superstar. He's not an all-star yet, but he's one of those guys that's like, yeah, give him the ball in the fourth.
He's one of the few guys that isn't a superstar that can be that guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just love that about him. I think he's so underrated. He was always viewed as like not a good defender. I think he's solid defensively. He holds his own.
Yeah, he's a little like he's playing the two.
So he's a little small.
a little undersized. He's doing what he can. Like it's not like he's a liability. It's not like he's a JJ Redick on the wing or like a Duncan Robinson on the wing where they're just getting cooked.
Mhm.
I mean, he's athletic enough to play defense. He's got long arms. I like Terry.
Yeah, it's a good one. Do you have another overrated, underrated player?
Yeah, I'll go Tobias Harris.
That's a tough one. So
Yeah.
I haven't thought of this one yet. Do you have a take first?
I kind of just came up with that on the fly, but honestly, I think Tobias is right where he should be. I don't think he's underrated or overrated. Sure, like even of last year, you could have called him overrated because of his contract. Like I get it. His contract's not bad nowadays, but when he first got paid, he wasn't. He was one of the like first people who weren't an all-star yet in their career that got that big contract like he got.
He might never be an all-star, too.
Yeah, I think his window was last year or 2 years ago.
I think this year's his. I think he's still in the window for one more year to maybe make the All-Star game.
The East just has
But it's getting harder.
it's so top heavy. The East, like all the
Mhm.
stars play for just the top Eastern teams, and they all make All-Star games.
Yeah, it's hard to say with him. I think last year his season was underrated. He had a really good year last year that
Yeah,
a lot of people forget about, and he wasn't an all-star. I'm not going to argue saying he should have been an all-star. If Julius Randle wasn't as good as he was, then Tobias probably would have made it
yeah,
as another forward. But
and Julius deserved it.
yeah, Julius deserved it over him. Nobody expected Julius to take that leap and then steal his spot. So
Most improved.
yeah,
for
ended
a
up winning
reason.
most improved and taking Tobias's all-star spot. I don't think anybody's. I think everybody's viewing Tobias as just below all-star and it's like a good, like secondary star player.
Yeah, I agree.
So I have one right here. This one's interesting. A lot of people have strong opinions on him for overrated, underrated. A lot of people like him, and a lot of people hate this player, Tyler Harrow.
You know, it's so funny. I got a couple of my boys listening from Middletown, and we were just having this talk all yesterday. Is Tyler Hero overrated or is he underrated? It's so hard to tell because the kid's got potential. I mean, he's what, 21, 22?
I think so.
I mean,
Yeah.
and he's already proven that he can turn into a dog in the playoffs. he was a big part of that championship run. Especially against Philly, he was killing Philly. I like Tyler Hero a lot. I don't like how he compared himself to Luca, Ja, and Trey, but I do think Tyler Hero's. I guess if I had to say, I don't know. I guess right where he should be because he's not overrated. Because what he said was wrong. Sure, he's not in that category just yet. He's hoping to be in that category, and that's kind of what we were talking about. But I think he's properly rated because he can pop off.
Yeah, I would say he's overrated in his own mind with the
Yes,
stuff he's saying.
that's a good way of putting it.
I've never seen just an average player be so cocky like Tyler Harrow, and it kind of annoys me, especially because he's so young too. Like he needs to, I guess, respect the rest of the players in the NBA. He needs to earn that respect before he can start saying this stuff.
Yeah, and I just don't like that in general. Like it's so impressive to me when an NBA player could just be like, "I'm me." Like I'm Joe Fortunato and I'm my game. Like I'm not comparing myself to Luka Doncic, Trey Young, John Morant. Like I'm me and I'm gonna get buckets as me. Like that's impressive to me. I don't like when players compare each other. Of course, you always get the comparisons, but that's the fans' job. Just go out, play the game, do you. Tyler Hero's a great player in his own respective way.
I agree. I just don't like the comparisons that he does. That's
Yeah,
just throwing himself in the overrated category.
agree.
When you think of Tyler Harrow, what do you think his best like quality on the court is?
He can shoot.
And that's kind of why I want to point that he's overrated. He shot 36% from three last year, which
Yeah. No,
for an
it's tough.
elite
Yeah,
shooter, not really that good. I don't know. I just think his shooting isn't as good as people perceive it to be. They think he's just this great shooter, and he really didn't prove it last year. And he was a bench player pretty much.
he's just a streaky guy at this point.
Yeah, he can
And I
be
feel
very
like I
streaky.
feel like that's okay. He hit a what is it, sophomore slump, or was that his third year? I think it was his second year, right?
Oh, second year,
Yeah,
yeah.
he hit a sophomore slump. That's fine. He's gonna bounce back and be good. I think he's gonna have a good year this year, especially with having Kyle Lowry in there to play make, take some pressure off the guard spot. I don't know. I really do think that Tyler Hero's gonna bounce back. Your second year, teams have scouting reports on you. They know what you do. You get guarded a little harder. I don't know. I can see him having a good year.
This actually brought up a really random thought when it comes to basketball players, but you said that Tyler Hero is like a streaky shooter. Would you rather have like a consistent shooter that never goes off, like someone that goes 2 for 7 or 2 for 6 every game, or a guy that goes 6 for 6 one game and then's 0 for 6 the next game? Like, what do you think's more valuable?
Well, for the Heat, like talking about, his shooting for the Heat, I would take Tyler Hero because Jimmy Butler's gonna give you buckets every night. Bam's gonna give you buckets every night. Kyle Lowry's gonna be Kyle Lowry. But when you have a guy that can just contribute, come off the bench, get buckets, and give Jimmy Butler a rest, why not?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, why not have a guy just pop off and then just create another dangerous weapon that teams might have to think about scouting for? I don't want to. I don't want to interrupt too much. I had one of my friends text me. My friend Mark texted me. He's saying he's a big Miami Heat fan. I always, make fun of him for being like, that bandwagon that got stuck there once James left, once Wade left. But he was mentioning we got to bring up Trey Young's shooting because people think of Trey Young's best attribute being shooting, but that's a completely different realm for me. I could talk about that for a little bit, but Trey Young's role significantly bigger than Tyler Hero's.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. They don't need him just to be a shooter. He's
And
the full playmaker on that team.
that's it. And Trey Young can shoot 30 times a game and only make 12 shots, and that's okay with Atlanta because they're ride or dying on Trey. Um, yeah, I don't like that comparison at all. I know he was just mentioning just the shooting and how Trey could just get into a slump and whatnot, but two different roles.
And Trey's also another streaky guy too. He can have games where he hits like 8 threes, and then the Hawks are definitely going to win if he hits 8 threes.
Yeah,
Or he has a game where he hits 0 threes, but's being a great playmaker, and they still can win.
and doing that floater in the paint the whole game.
Yeah, he'll still
It's
get his
unstoppable.
points. Like in that Sixers playoff game, he still got. I know in Game 7, I can't think of how many points he had, but I think he was around like 20 points there, and he was awful shooting. and he still had a good positive contribution to the team.
Yeah, even though Philly lost, I had such a good time watching that series. Like Atlanta was fun to watch.
They
Like
were,
it was
yeah.
just like every time Trey Young had the ball in his hands, I was like, man, we can't stop Trey Young. And then he dishes it off to Kevin Herter, and he goes crazy. And then John Collins just jumping all over the place. They were a fun team to watch. I hate that we lost, but it was fun.
That was.
All right, moving on. We want to make some predictions before the season started. That's kind of the whole theme of this episode. We really want to do top fives at each position, and then eventually we're going to get to our preseason prediction for the awards. Um, so we'll start with the point guard position, going top fives. Do you want to give me your top five first?
Yeah, I'll go. So just to clarify, we're going 5-1, right?
Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. So my number 5 at point guard, I had CP3.
Okay, I like that.
Who do you have?
See, this was my one bold take. I gotta explain it just a little bit. I have Drew Holiday, and
That's a good spot.
I have Drew Holiday only because he's a gamer. Like that dude knows how to win, and I just love that. I think that's more valuable than any stat. You know, Russell Westbrook's a gamer. He loves to win. He still puts up the stats, but Russ is a great point guard in his own, in his own way. But Drew Holiday being that defensive guy for the Bucks, and sure, Giannis and Middleton are great defenders as well, but Drew Holiday was all over CP3 and Booker. They looked lost out there. So basing off the finals, basing off the Bucks playoff run, I'm giving it to Drew Holiday at the number 5.
That'll be interesting. I'm curious who you have him over that didn't make your list. Because I didn't have Drew Holiday on my list, but that's a good pick for
I didn't
number
have
5.
CP3.
Okay, so you picked him over CP3. There we go. Um, I think I just have to give it to Chris Paul. Chris Paul, it's tough. Chris Paul's a good defender too.
Oh,
He's
Chris
not
Paul is great.
he's not a Drew Holiday level defender, but he's also I think just a bit better of a playmaker and
Do you think he's going to regress a
everything
little
else.
bit this year?
Yeah, I do think he
Yeah,
will.
I think so as well.
He's old and he's kind of due for it. He had such a good like out of nowhere year last year, but I feel like people have been expecting Chris Paul to regress and he never has really. He's always kind of stayed where he is and his game, he's just so like fundamentally sound.
Yeah.
No matter what, Chris Paul is good. Like even if he loses his athleticism,
That's the thing. His game is so like old man like that it can last in this old man. Like he just dimes. Like he just dimes. Like Chris Paul's never doing anything crazy. Like he's not at the point in his career where he's jumping up to dunk anymore or anything like that. He was never a dunker, but you know what I mean. He's not trying to
yeah.
bang bodies anymore. He understands his body and he's getting old.
My favorite thing with Chris Paul, I don't know if you ever notice it, he like manipulates the refs in games. He'll like start talking to them and tell he'll point out like the littlest things that players are doing and then later in that game the refs will call fouls on it. He just mentally gets in the refs' heads and
He's great at that.
I've never seen another player like it. It's very fascinating and cool that Chris Paul can do that.
Right. And jumping to the fourth slide, I got Trey Young.
That's a good pick right there. 'Cause I also had Trey.
You have Trey at 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it makes sense. He proved himself in the playoffs. Trey can win games. Took a team that shouldn't have been in the conference finals to the conference finals. Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah, we
Deserved
already
that.
talked a little bit on Trey too, but he's so young. I think he's someone that can jump up on this list as time goes on. If he can just get more consistent at everything,
Yeah,
he looks really dangerous.
yeah, I
There.
agree.
Number 3, I had Dame here.
I think we got the same top 4.
So you had Dame also.
Yeah, Dame Dollar.
Anything you want to say on Dame here at 3?
It's a killer.
Yeah.
Dame is a killer, and that's all there is to
Everybody knows what Dame is and what he brings.
it. Yeah,
It kind of is unfortunate for him. He's still in Portland. I want to see him somewhere where he can win a championship and carry a team. Well, I don't want to see him with the Lakers, but
I don't want to see him with the Lakers.
maybe somewhere else like Philly where he could do that.
Yeah, that's not biased at all. Moving on to number 2, I got Luka Doncic.
Yeah, I had Luca also.
At this point, he is a point guard. He came into the league shooting guard, small forward, whatever, but he is a point guard now.
He's ran point guard for the last 2 years.
Yeah, and that dude might be the MVP favorite this year. He's insane. He's magic. That's
If
his
you look at
nickname.
just stats, he might be the best player too.
Oh yeah, and
'Cause he puts
the
up
scary thing is
triple double with 30 points.
he's like 23.
It's
It's
ridiculous.
ridiculous. It is very ridiculous. And he's got the keys to the Mavericks. He can do whatever he wants,
Yeah, I agree.
and
And
rightfully so.
I can't think of many other players that you could just put on a team like the Mavericks roster and can carry them, can put up those numbers and carry them into the playoffs. There's maybe like two or three other players in the NBA that could do that.
Yeah.
It's just impressive.
And then number one spot, I got Steph Curry,
Yeah,
of
I had
course.
Curry too, which goes without saying. He's been the best point guard in the NBA for years now.
Yeah, my favorite player of all time, easily.
Don't need to change that at all.
Dude is so good every year. And right when you think he's gonna get, you know, this situation he had this year, right when you thought he was gonna get too much attention, might not be that same Steph Curry. He goes out and averages 32 a night. It's ridiculous. Best point guard in the league.
Yeah, and best shooter of all time too.
Oh, easily, easily. He's gonna kill Ray Allen's record. It's insane. You want to move on to the shooting guard spot?
Yeah, let's go over to shooting guards. So, number 5, I had Donovan Mitchell here.
Same here.
Donovan Mitchell, I think, pretty. There was kind of a fall off after Mitchell. I feel like
The
he's
hype, I think, fell off.
yeah, but he still solidifies himself like as the 5th best. He's one of the best players on a top seed in the West every year.
Yeah.
He's gonna get like mid 20s in points per game and brings good defense, great energy. I like him. He's still young.
Yeah, I really didn't like Donovan Mitchell in his rookie year, only because of his campaign to win Rookie of the Year. I hated that.
Yeah, that
Like, I
was kind of
hated how
annoying.
he was, like, wearing shirts saying Rookie of the Year or something like that. I forget. It was years ago, but, yeah. I like Donovan Mitchell, top 5 shooting guard, number 5 spot for sure. Moving on, number 4, I got Devin Booker.
All right, interesting spot for him. I have Booker on my list, not at 4 though.
Yeah.
I had Paul George as my 4. So why'd you go
Oh,
Booker?
wow.
Booker 4.
I have Booker for because of the last image I got of him in that finals. He got shut down last 3-4 games. Didn't look like Devin Booker. He wasn't playing any defense. He let Drew Holiday do Drew Holiday things. Drew Holiday shot terrible for like 2 straight games, but it just seemed like he mentally lost it after game 2.
That's a very good point. I feel like he was exhausted in that series.
I think
he
so
just
as well.
he didn't seem like the same player there at all.
And he's a young guy. Like I could easily hear him being number 3 or on my list, but he's a young guy. He's gonna get better. He's gonna get better this year. I think he's gonna pass my number 3 guy, but then Booker's a baller.
And then I had Paul George 4 instead of Booker. Booker's my 3.
Okay.
Just going ahead. Paul George. A lot of people don't think of him as a shooting guard, but that's really his position right now.
Yeah, he's kind of transitioned back into it.
He's a shooting guard. He's one of the best 3-and-D guys in the league still. He averaged almost 30. He was one of the top points per game scorers in the NBA last year. I think he was around 28 points a game. Paul George still super efficient. He had one of his best career seasons last year. I like Devin Booker a tad bit more because of the playoffs other than the finals.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you just like switch them on teams, I feel like Devin Booker is more valuable than Paul George. Everybody would rather have Devin Booker than Paul George, just because I think Devin Booker can really carry a team. Paul George can't do things on his own. He needs another star.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I don't know if I agree to that, but I do hear what you're saying because I do think Booker didn't take that leap until they were taking top defenders off him and putting them on CP3. CP3 was taken away a little bit from the guard spot, like a little bit of the pressure. And DeAndre Ayton emerged into a good star. They had pieces like Jay Crowder. Like I do feel like everyone needs a team at the end of the day. I
agree.
I hate when people are like, "Oh, LeBron needs 7 All-Stars." Like everyone needs a team at the end of the day to do their thing. So I do know what you're saying. It makes sense. And number 3, you have Booker, or
Yeah, I had
Booker.
Booker at 3. Paul George was 4.
So
Who's your 3?
I got Brad Beal.
Okay.
Brad
That's a good
Beal, baller, 30 points a game. Unfortunate situation. That's all. That's all there really is to it. He's fallen off on the defensive end a little bit though. I have a friend who's a Washington Wizard fan that just can't stand watching Beal play defense.
Yeah, but I guess what you just can't compete with him is He's the top 3 scorer in the NBA pretty much every year.
Yeah,
Part of it's because of his opportunity. He gets to shoot a ton in Washington.
yeah.
But I think that alone puts him high on the list. I had Booker as my 3. I had Beal as my 2.
Okay. At my 2, I got Paul George
It's a good spot. Why do you have Paul George so high?
because he's an outstanding defender, and
Yeah.
he passes. I think his offensive game matches Beal and Booker. I honestly think if Kawhi Leonard, and it's going to be interesting because we're going to be able to see it for half the season or however long Kawhi's hurt, but we get to see Paul George have the keys again, and he hasn't had that since Indiana. He didn't have it in OKC. He's got it now. I think Paul George is going to start the year averaging like 28, 29 a game.
He probably will. And a lot of these times when Paul George has the opportunity alone, he does find success and is really good in it.
And Paul George was balling last playoffs.
He
I hated
was.
that pandemic P thing or playoff P. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he had a bad series. He's had a couple bad series. He's got a rough track record as far as playoffs go, but he balled against Utah. He was a big part of the reason they got through.
Yeah, no, I agree. That this 2 through 4 on the list was so hard for me to
Yeah,
pick these.
because I can hear arguments anyway, but I think we have the same number one. We have James Harden.
Yeah, I have Harden 1.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
He's a tier above the other 3 guys we mentioned, or the other 4 guys actually.
Yeah, undoubtedly the best. Dude, one of the best scorers in NBA history, easily. He can just score at will. There's not a single person in the NBA that can guard him. And
No,
he's just in
not
that.
at all.
There's like I always like to say there's like a small like group of guys that are in that category of just unguardable, and he's maybe the most unguardable. Him and KD.
And I was thinking of something the other day. I was getting in a bit of a debate of between Harden and Luca, and I'd say Harden's still a little bit better than Luca, going with one of our top players on the other lists, just because Harden and Luca, they'll put up the same numbers. They'll both get pretty much triple double every single game,
Yeah.
but Harden's just so unguardable and forces double teams every time. His moves, probably the most unguardable in the NBA, ball handling and just craftiness.
It's so crazy to even like think about everything because I was watching Duncan Robinson's podcast,
Yeah,
A Long Shot. He had Pat Connaughton on, and random NBA player, very random NBA player, but he's a great defender, great on-ball defender. He's one of the best on-ball defenders statistically. He has a 44-inch vertical. Like, he's an athlete, so he can guard a lot of positions. But he was talking about guarding James Harden, and he's just like, there is nothing you can do. You just hope he makes or he's like, there's 2 results. He's gonna make it or he's gonna miss it, and that's all you can do guarding James Harden.
yeah. I feel like sometimes, at least from like my own experience, when I'm guarding someone who's insanely better than me and I know they can blow by me at any point, I just want them to shoot. Like
Yeah,
I take a
you
step
gotta
back and
do
I'm
it.
like, just shoot the ball. I hope I'll take my chances with that instead of you getting cooking me and getting an easy bucket on me.
Yeah, 100%. I do know what you're saying, and I feel like that is kind of what Pat Connaughton was saying. They're like, yeah,
That's what I thought of when
they're
he
like,
said that.
yeah, you can. He likes to step back right because he's a lefty, and he likes shooting over the opponent's left shoulder. He's like, you can try and stop that, but he's gonna do it. And he's gonna get there, and he's gonna cook you.
And that's crazy because like players that have all those moves in their bag, then they can get in the defender's head and create space. Just like with that,
And
defenders will give them the space because they don't want to get blown by.
yeah, and last thing I'll say because we do have to move on. Pat was like, yeah, like, and then once you figure out how to guard that, he's got moves 2, 3, 4, and 5 that he's just gonna kill you with, and it's insane to think about.
Yeah,
Like, it's an island guarding James Harden. It's just you and him. So we'll go over to our small forward spot. I do want to get all these done, so we might have to fly a little bit. But my number 5 is Chris Middleton.
that's a good spot for him. This one was the one player I was so disappointed I wasn't able to fit him on my list.
Who?
Chris Middleton.
Oh,
I was just
okay.
upset. Like,
Yeah.
it was tough. I have Jimmy Butler over him.
Okay. I don't think we're too far off here. I have Chris because second option on a championship team. I mean,
Yeah.
the dude's
Underrated because
awesome. We were kind of talking about that. We were saying like, all second options on championship teams get highlighted, like Klay Thompson, Dwayne Wade, I guess Curry for a year. players like that. But no one talks about Chris Middleton being the second option on a championship team.
No, he doesn't get any respect for that.
So he deserves the number 5.
People
But
act like Giannis did it all on his own.
yeah, it wasn't the Giannis show. It was pretty well. I mean, sure, game what 7-6,
Yeah,
game 6. He
it was the Giannis show in ways, but he
Yeah.
had some really good help too.
he did. So you had Jimmy Butler.
I had Jimmy Butler. That one was tough for me, Butler and Middleton.
I have Butler at 4.
But I think I had to go Butler over Middleton, just because I don't know. Butler's been doing it for longer. He had a good year last year that
Yeah,
kind of flew under the radar.
underrated.
He picked up a lot of playmaking. Like I've never seen Jimmy Butler be a triple double threat until
Yeah.
last year. He was getting a lot of triple doubles while still being a deadly like can catch 50 at any night scorer.
Yeah,
So yeah, I had Butler at 5 for me.
and you just explained why he's number 4 for me. He developed that playmaking role. He can score at will. He's a gamer on defense. Jim Butler is the 4th best small forward in my opinion.
All right, so 4 for me. I had Tatum at 4.
Interesting.
I don't know. I guess where our difference is yet. We'll find out
Oh,
soon.
I
but-
know our difference now,
Oh,
and I'm kind of disappointed.
so I had Tatum at 4. Tatum was a tough one. I wasn't sure if he was small forward or power forward. I just
Yeah.
threw him at small forward. That's where he was drafted at, and kind of seems like his main position. Nothing really more to say about Tatum. He's just one of those best scorers in the NBA. Can catch fire at any moment. I like Tatum at 4, and I think he's better than Jimmy Butler and Middleton.
So I'm gonna say my 3,
Okay.
which is Tatum, because I didn't put Kawhi Leonard on this list.
Yeah.
I
I had
figured,
Kawhi at 3.
I figured Kawhi being out for so long this year to start the year, I just didn't even include.
All right, that's fair then. So we have pretty similar lists, other than you were missing Kawhi.
Yeah, I'm interested to see your top 2 though. So you have Kawhi and I have Tatum. Tatum's a baller; he could score, and Kawhi's Kawhi Leonard. It's not much
Yeah.
else to say.
Probably the best two-way player in the NBA still.
Yeah, agreed. Number 2,
I had LeBron.
and unfortunately, I have LeBron. I don't want to put LeBron number 2. He's been number 1 best small forward, number 1 best player in the league for 10 years, 12 years. Like it's crazy.
And Durant's been number 2, always behind him. That's my number 1 was Durant.
Yeah,
And I'm sure.
same.
Yeah, you had Durant number 1 also. Durant's always been like knocking on the door of LeBron to be the best player in the NBA and best small forward. And I think finally this year is the year he's gonna take it. Not as to fault of LeBron. He's still great.
It's youth. That's all it is.
Yeah, Durant's just a couple years younger.
LeBron's in year 19.
Durant is still at the peak. I was so impressed with Durant in both, like just the last year of basketball, his playoff series,
Yes.
Team USA,
Yep.
and the preseason right now.
It's so underrated what he's doing right now. He tore his Achilles. Players don't come back from that.
Never.
Kobe was never the same.
And he's
DeMarcus
looked
Cousins.
amazing.
Yeah, never the same. He's KD again. Like he is back, and if anything, it looks like he got better.
He looks like prime KD right now,
He
and
does.
I'm so surprised to see it. And I was thinking of throwing his name in overrated, underrated. I think he's underrated right now because nobody's talking about him as the superstar he once was in OKC or even with the Warriors. I think he's just as good of a player as he was then, and I feel like people think he took a step back, and he hasn't at all. He was amazing for Team USA, amazing in the playoffs and the preseason. Like I just said, that's like almost a full NBA season and playoff sample size just from seeing all that, and he's been playing like the best player in all those levels we saw him play.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, he's been outstanding for so long. Moving on to the power forwards. Excuse me. We got the number 5 spot. I have Sabonis.
Okay, interesting. I had Julius Randle here at 5.
Okay, Randall's my 4, so we're not far off.
Yeah, we'll talk about both of them because that was our 4s and 5s.
Yeah, Sabonis for me has been great. He could pass. I think he's just like and I don't want to say this because, they're both like the same player build, but I think he's like a Jokic, but just not as good, obviously. He's like a Walmart Jokic. He can pass, he can rebound, he can score. Like, that's what Jokic does.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not a great defender like Jokic.
Hmm, I'm trying to think who's the better defender of the two. I might even give Sabonis a
Yeah,
slight nod
I
on
might too.
defense. I think Sabonis is actually a better rebounder than Jokic also.
Sabonis is an underrated rebounder.
He's one of the best rebounders in the NBA. That's why I had him over Julius Randle. It's just I think his rebounding is so important,
Yeah,
and it doesn't get talked about. He's a top three in rebounds a game every year.
yeah, they were kind of interchangeable for me. Like I could switch them in and out
Yeah,
at
I
4 or 5.
agree. They were close. I think just for me, Sabonis has done it longer, and I think the rebounding, he's just so elite at rebounding that gives him a slight edge for me.
Who's your number 4?
So my four was Sabonis,
Okay,
but
gotcha.
I had Randall five, Sabonis four, and then we'll move on to three
Yeah,
because your five was Sabonis and your four was Randall,
yep,
and my three was Zion.
yeah. We have the same list here.
Little concerned with the injuries I saw about him, and I've also seen some stuff he's kind of came in. I don't know if you saw the side by side comparison of
From his rookie year,
rookie year to
it's
now.
terrible.
He looks a little chubby. It's a nice way to put it, I guess.
Yeah,
He's always been like a big guy, but doesn't look as muscular right now. It's a little concerning.
yeah. He lost the tone, like his arm definition. You could see it, and he just looks bigger. But at the end of the day, and this isn't my own opinion. I got this from someone else that kind of strayed me this way, but he's 6'6", 285. When you have a fractured foot, you can't run, you can't walk, you can't do the things that keep you in shape. Like he was doing like water aerobics and stuff, whatever that is. So, you're doing workouts in a pool, but he's that big. Like he isn't supposed to be 285, but he is, and that's what makes him so dominant and strong. And like you're not supposed to jump that high being 285. Is my main point.
Yeah, he has some unreal athleticism.
Unreal. Like if he was 7 foot, 285, a little better. But 6'6", 285 is crazy. That's 30, 40 pounds heavier than LeBron. LeBron is 2 inches on him.
Yeah, and he uses that all to his advantage too. Just that
He
unique
does.
athleticism with
27
the
a night.
strength.
27 a night last year on pretty much all layups, which is crazy.
And I really think he could, if he can stay in shape this year. I was almost gonna put him number two, but I've been concerned with one, the injury he just received, and two, like the weight concerns. So I put him number three behind Anthony Davis at two, but I could see him taking a leap over him.
Yeah, I think the last two are pretty obvious. AD at the 2, Giannis at the
Yeah,
1.
and I had Giannis at one.
It's
also.
not much to explain. Those two are in a category of their own. Giannis is arguably the best player in basketball right now, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Just won a championship.
Yeah, he has to be one, and he's significantly better than AD right now. Let's go over to centers. Who was your number five?
Karl Anthony Towns.
Interesting.
I-
I know you're not a cat
I'm
guy.
not a cat guy, but I'm really trying. I didn't even want to put him on the list because I just need to see Cat win. But I do appreciate his offense a lot. I do appreciate what he does as far as that side of the ball for Minnesota. But he's got to be better on defense. He's got to be better. He's got to care. Like Devin Booker took all of his flaws on defense and he cared and helped them push the championship run. Like Devin Booker was statistically one of the worst defenders in the league. But then, he came in, changed his role, changed his game, picked up some good defense, and contributed more. And I just need to see Cat do that.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. He's five, but you have fair points, and he hasn't won. I'm going to go a player at five who also really hasn't proven anything or won yet, and pretty much puts up the same numbers. I'm going Vucevic.
Yeah, I like that. He's not on my list.
Okay. Yeah, I had Vucevic just at five. I'm interested. So who's your number four?
Bam Adebayo.
Ah. I forgot a player. I forgot Bam.
I forgot Bam. Yeah, Bam's great. Man. Bam.
I knew it was happening.
It was so, his career was kind of weird. He came out of Kentucky and was, just an end-of-the-bench guy for Miami, and then just started working his role, and then now he's just a dominant center that could do a lot of things well. I like
And
Bam.
maybe the best, might be the best defender other than Gobert at center.
Yeah, other than Gobert,
You can make the argument, and he can guard other
He's
positions that
Joel's up there too, but yeah, I like Bam.
he's so versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have had Bam on my list
Who's
over
your fourth?
Vucevic. That was dumb. I completely forgot about that. But 4, I had Cat. No
Okay.
explanation needed, really.
Yeah.
3, I had
Uh,
Gobert.
yeah, Rudy Gobert. Terrific defender. People are calling him overpaid, but if you don't pay Gobert, he goes somewhere else, and they need Gobert in Utah. It's so simple, but for some reason, I just feel like people don't understand why he was paid.
Yeah, no, that made sense.
Because if you're not going to pay him, the Orlando Magic are going to pay him, or the Cleveland Cavaliers with their 17 centers. Like,
They would have, and nobody wants to see Gobert there. They'd rather see him winning. It kind of stinks, but
who's
he's
your number
stuck
2?
there.
Because this is interchangeable, I think.
This is so interchangeable, and I'm sorry, Sixers fans, but I'm going Embiid's 2.
Okay, I got Jokic.
1. You had Jokic
Yeah,
at 2?
and I kind of did my centers like differently. I kind of based my centers off what I think they're gonna do this year.
Okay, yeah.
So I think Joel's gonna pass Jokic this year. They're interchangeable, and yeah, I'm a biased Sixers fan. Sure, I want Joel to be labeled as the best center, but I mean, I just think Joel Embiid's situation this year with all the drama with Ben might not be there anymore, and Embiid might go crazy.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see it. I think he has some potential to just have an insane year.
And he's even in better shape.
I guess my reasoning for going Jokic over Embiid is Embiid, one, with the injuries. I just think Jokic is a safer pick to say he's the
Yeah.
best center in the NBA because
I agree.
he's more consistent. His stats look better because he does everything else more, and he's always healthy. He's just reliable. But that's no knock on Embiid. Embiid's great. So that's our top 5. So I had fun doing that. There were some good picks.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. And
We'll come back to it at the end of the year and see what changed. That's definitely going to be one of our off-season talks.
yeah, and that's kind of a good transition in what we're gonna wrap up here with the last 10 minutes here. We're gonna go over our award predictions. This is always such a fun time of the year
Yeah, I love doing award predictions.
because it's just kind of like you could be way off or you could be spot on, and it's pretty cool to see. Um, so let's start off. I kind of want to get MVP out of the way because I feel like we have the same.
Yeah,
MVP.
let's work down from MVP. I went Luka.
Yeah, I went Doncic.
I just think Luka's been playing at MVP level for the last few years, and the MVP in the NBA is very story based, and he hasn't won one yet. And I know the voters want to give Luka an MVP. I think this will finally be the year if the Mavericks just improve a little bit
Yeah,
and Luka does what he has done for the past few years. He's gonna win it.
yeah. We said before the show that he's got to be top 5 seed. Because if he propels Dallas to a top 5 seed, that means Luke is averaging probably 30 a night
With
with
maybe a
assists and
triple double.
rebounds. Yeah,
I think he could average a triple
I
double.
think he could too. And yeah, like you were saying, kind of follow up on your point, there is voters fatigue in the NBA. They don't like seeing Giannis win 7 MVPs in a row. You know what I mean? Like, they want to switch it up. They want to award it to a different franchise. And you're right. And Luke is I believe, the favorite, pretty well known at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. Want to jump into Rookie of the Year next?
Yeah, who you got?
That's what I had, and this was a tough one for me between both Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham, but I
Yeah.
went Cade Cunningham.
Okay.
I think he'll be able to have the ball in his hands more than Jalen Green will.
Yeah.
With the Pistons there, and I think he's a slightly better player. He's got that just big size for a guard that I love and playmaking ability, and I think he'll, as a rookie, will average close to 20 points.
Yeah, 6'7". I mean, he's got a great wingspan. He can dunk, he can jump, he can shoot. But I picked Jalen Green because he's a better shooter than Kate Cunningham, and that was kind of my only reasoning. I think they're pretty identical as far as situations go.
Yeah, it's really
Cade
close.
might have the ball in his hands a little bit more. It's tough to say with Jeremy Grant still being there. It's gonna, it's Cade's team, and I think it's Jalen Green's team. But I just think Jalen Green shoots the ball better and might go off for higher clips because he can shoot more.
Yeah, that's all good points. I think both will be in the 20 points per game realm there.
Jalen Green's going for a 40-point game this year, like Brandon Jennings did.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. He's got that, just like can go off at any moment
Yeah.
quality in him, and I love that.
What about defensive player?
I had an interesting one that I haven't heard too much talk about, but I'm going Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, I like that. That's
He
probably better than mine.
he's can guard any position as a center, and he's a bit undersized at center too, but he can still guard any big. He
He's been
shuts down any
he could
big,
go out on the perimeter.
and he can go out on the perimeter.
Bam's a solid pick.
If he can put up numbers like defensive numbers too, I think he can really do it and win MVP or defensive player of the year.
So you forgot Bam on the center list, but he's your defensive player of the year.
Yeah, I don't know how
That's
I
funny.
forgot him. He would have been on my. I'm a big Bam guy. He would have been in my top 5.
Yeah, I like the Heat in general.
I do too.
Like, I just love that quote unquote Heat culture, whatever.
It's a real thing though.
It really is. They go there and they work.
Yeah.
They're going to be a great team this year. But defensive player, I went back to Giannis. I think Giannis is
see.
going to win an award. He's just so dominant. I think he's just, like, his body got even bigger than it was last year. Like, I just saw a comparison from him in the finals to now, and he just looks stronger, which is insane to think that this guy might be better than what he already is.
He doesn't need to be any better. It scares me,
doesn't.
like for the
And
Sixers.
he very well might be an MVP again. It's just it depends.
If he can do like, I don't know what he needs to do to win an MVP because that's so
Shoot.
interesting. Yeah, if he can add a shot, give it to him.
His form looks different. It looks better.
Interesting. I'm excited to see him play again.
Oh yeah, I kind of want to circle back for my boys at home about the Rookie of the Year, Bones Highland. He's gonna be great. He's gonna be great. He's not gonna win Rookie of the Year because only the impact that he's gonna have in the minutes and the role. But Bones looks good in the preseason. He's gonna be good coming off the bench for Denver and hopefully starting midway through the year. We didn't do 6-man, did we? Let's do 6-man.
Yeah, 6-man. This one I was like, you can go anyone for 6-man. There's so many good candidates, but for me, I went someone who showed it in the playoffs. I went Kevin Herter.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool pick. Like, that's just a cool pick. I didn't think I would hear Kevin Herter's
Because
name.
I don't think he's going to start, and he proved that he can just be that guy, be an insane scorer in the playoffs.
He may start.
Yeah, that's why it's tough to pick 6-man because I'm not sure who's going to start.
Yeah.
But I was guessing he doesn't start, so I said Kevin Herter. That's an interesting one.
I'm stuck between two. I'm stuck between Tyler Hero and Jordan Poole.
I like the Poole pick.
I like Jordan Poole because that dude's a scorer. Like, he just go out and score, and he's not afraid to shoot. Like, and that's kind of the same thing with Tyler Hero too. Like, Tyler Hero, ever since he was a rookie, wasn't afraid to shoot the ball at the net. So give me Jordan Poole. I think he's going to start for a little bit, then come off the bench once Clay's healthy.
Yeah, those are all great picks. I think with 6-man, it feels like they're all scorers. They're all just like elite scorers who can get you a ton of points off the bench. So
Yeah.
whoever does that the best will probably win 6-man.
Agreed.
Last one I had was most improved player. I
Okay.
think that's our last award, right?
Coach of the year, but
Oh, I didn't do a coach of the year, but I can give a name. Most improved player for me, I said Kevin Porter Jr.
okay. I like that. I have KPJ or RJ Barrett.
Those are good picks.
I'm a big RJ Barrett guy. I want to see him take the keys. I want to see him take a little bit more from Randall this year and shoot the ball more.
Yeah, that's a good
Rui
pick.
Hashimura, too. Wouldn't be surprised if he takes a big leap.
Yeah, Rui does everything great,
Yeah.
or like everything really
He's going to
good.
have more significant of a role.
Yeah, if he just gets more exposure, I feel like more playing time, more ball in his hands, he's gonna
Yeah.
end up putting up better numbers.
And lastly, Coach of the Year. I know you don't have one, but off the top of your head, what can you name?
I'm trying to think of a team that goes above expectations. Yeah, you go yours first. I'm gonna think.
I got Billy Donovan in Chicago.
That's what I was I was about to say that one. Yeah.
Billy Donovan in Chicago. He's got a good situation now. He's a good coach, and there's no doubt about that. He's been able to have some success. Yeah, he hasn't brought a team to the championship yet, but I don't think this team's going to make the championship, at least their first year, but eventually.
They'll be a top. I think they'll be a top 4 seed in the East.
Yeah, if
and
they get top 4, he's getting the award.
yeah, just because of taking like the big team that took the biggest leap has improved the most. It's been probably could have been. You can make the argument it's going to be the Bulls, and I feel like that's normally what Coach of the Year is, the coach that takes the team to the biggest jump.
Yeah, Steve Kerr has a chance too.
Yeah, if Kerr does his thing and
With
Warriors
the
are,
Warriors getting a little older, a little healthier.
yeah,
Wiseman hopefully learning how to play basketball.
yeah, those are good picks. One more thing I wanted to go over as a good like last prediction. Who do you think's in the finals?
Mm,
Um,
that's tough.
like I want to say Nets versus Lakers.
Yeah,
I can't, but
that's the obvious pick. I feel like
I'm trying to think of other ones that are possible. But I said Nets win the championship.
that's
It's,
interesting. That's
I just think they do. I love some. I think they have depth this year, and even if Kyrie doesn't play, Kevin Durant's been so good, and I just love what I see about out
yeah.
of KD.
I'm gonna go Nets in the East as well. I just think they're too good. They're just too good.
And kind of for the West, I have to see the season. I can't make a prediction yet who
I'll,
wins.
I'm gonna go Nuggets.
Nuggets.
I'm
All
gonna say
right,
the Nuggets win the West, considering Jamal Murray comes back and is Jamal Murray.
that's a
Not
good
worse.
pick. Yeah, and for I don't know. I don't want to say the Lakers. I'm gonna pause mine. I'm gonna wait till a weekend to make
Okay.
my prediction on the West. But
Yeah, I just had someone text and said for their most improved player they have Darius Garland or Anthony Edwards.
I was thinking Anthony Edwards. That's a
I
good pick.
I think Anthony Edwards too good already. That
Yeah, that's true.
if he did win most improved, that means he's averaging like 26 a night, and that's not what he's gonna do. I don't think.
Yeah,
But Garland's interesting. Garland can
Garland
very well
could.
go crazy,
he just
or Sexton even.
they both have the opportunities in Cleveland. So if they can prove it,
No spacing. They're gonna get killed on the perimeter.
yeah,
They just
do.
are.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. It's been a great show talking about our predictions, and I just can't wait to see them come alive this season and see what all happens.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone listening. We're gonna wrap this up now.
Yep. Thank you for listening to the 3 over 2 podcast.